what really got scary was once we had from 10 Sherpas or these cool locals who wanted to conduct micro tours in the city, who were basically friends, networks, etc. We suddenly, in a matter of 2-3 months, started working towards it and scaled up to 5,000 Sherpas across 40 cities. And we were very, very proud of ourselves. Yay, wow, we've conquered it all. And everyone we were speaking to said, supply is something that you really will, how will it come, where will it come from, and that's where you really need to, work hardest at. Demand to aa jayega, so once you create that supply, demand will feed itself. And so we said, okay, we sat back in our chairs and said, okay, cool, so we've got the supply and very proud of ourselves. Demand will obviously keep coming in. We have to just turn on a few taps and for the first 3-4 weeks, we turned on, our demand acquisition push. Nothing was really happening. No one was really biting. And that was like, oh, okay, this is scary because people, A, never told us this would happen. B, I think we were a little ahead of ourselves. And C, we had like 5,000 people whose hopes and dreams were riding on us. And that's when kind of put us into fifth gear rather than taking us into reverse. And that scariest moment really turned us around and past, right now we have those same people who came on to us saying, hey, when am I going to start doing tours? 3 tours a week, earning lots of money, buying DSLRs and laptops for themselves, college kids, guys who are freelancers, etc. So I think for us right now in the past, 9-10 months, that was the scariest moment, and it was almost like an eye-opener for us that, hey, always when you think you're on the right track, just take a step back, because things can just come out of the blue and when you least expect it. So
as an entrepreneur, the first time something happens, it's always scary. And our first scary moment was actually getting a legal notice from Stylist Magazine and Shortlist Media, which is one of the largest media companies in the UK, about how we were potentially infringing on their trademark and should change our name immediately. And I remember this was 2 months after we had launched, and we were like tiny. We were 3-4 people, and I remember thinking, oh my God, how do you even survive something like this, right? What if this just closes us down? And we had a lawyer, but we couldn't really afford like a legal battle, legal expenses. We could barely afford to have that lawyer. And I think that was sort of really like, I was like, I really can't have a business that ends in 3 months. That would just be so disastrous. What will I tell people? I've just graduated from business school. I've given up every other offer. So I think that was pretty scary. We got through it, and we actually rebranded to PopXO, and that's actually been so much more successful. So you never know what really horrible thing becomes actually a blessing in disguise. So that happened to us. And so that was a bad one. But the 2 good ones was, I think the first moment was when we realized PopXO was a concept that could work. Like popxo.com is something people want to read. Was our, we were, I think, a year into running the startup, and PopXO was only a month old because it relaunched. And I remember in April of 2014, we had our first ever viral story. So it was a story that, we just saw, just really connected with everyone, and everyone was sharing it across their timelines on Facebook. And I remember thinking, oh my God, we could actually do this. People might actually want to read what we write. And I think that was also the first month that we crossed 100,000 unique visitors. So I think that was like really, really exciting for us. And bizarrely, the one when we crossed 1 million unique visitors was actually less scary and less fun than that first 100,000, which is when you really feel that you maybe have something.
I think the really scary moment was when this young girl, and I had forgotten what it lived like to live in Delhi, because I left Delhi many, many moons ago. And this young girl comes into the office crying because she'd been harassed on the street, to the point that she just said, fantastic kid. And she just said, Suchi, can't do this anymore. I get harassed every day. I'm going back to Mumbai. And there are girls who are so inhibited by security. I was scared. I was shit scared. Because the reality is, that is a moment that was out of my control. Because no matter what I said to her, and I said, hey, don't worry, we'll fix your transport. And it's not about retaining the person. It's about the meta level implication that has for life. So, that was really scary. And to this day, I literally feel like a mother hen. I'll go and I'm literally finding myself saying, hey, are you going to get dropped? And are you going to get dropped? And at some point it becomes non-scalable. But I think that was a really scary moment.
In 2001, the Italian Cultural Center or the Italian Embassy wanted to open a canteen for all the Italians who work in Delhi, because Italians are like Indians, like to eat their mama's pasta for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And that time there were already quite a few many Italian chefs who were working in Delhi. And this group of people, they decided to go and check out all the people who had applied for it or the restaurants who wanted to be part of it. And out of all the Italian chefs who had applied, and we had applied, we were chosen to do the food at the Italian Embassy. So that was a moment when I actually thought I had arrived.
And I'd like to open it up to those of you that are in the room to ask these wonderful panelists one or two key questions that are really burning for you in terms of asking about their experience. So can we have a few questions?
Hi everyone, thank you so much for coming here and sharing your stories with us, which inspires us to do so much more with our lives. But I'm still not getting that, okay, this is it. There are lots of things you like and you know, oh, I'll be good at this. But what is it that you really take up and you know that this is gonna be what I'm gonna continue doing for life? And I have a small lead up question to that as well, once I guess we get the answers.
From idea to execution, what happens, and I think everyone sort of said this today, that you never really know if it's going to work out. I still don't know. You know, every time a book comes out, I still wonder, will people read this? Even if I have 20, 30, 40,000 readers, I still wonder. So I think you just have to take the plunge. You know, you have to take the plunge, and I do think that being really positive always helps. You know, I mean, it's strange, but human nature is like that. Our very first thought will be like, it's not going to work. You know, and I've tried really hard to change that, and I still work on it every day. I'm just going to try to say that, you know, my first instinct is not going to be it's going to fail, but it says it's going to work. So I do think that making that small switch in your head is something. It could be something really big, you know, but it takes an effort every day. But I do think you just have to take the plunge, you know, and I do think that being a woman, you need to, or a man for that matter, but you need to make sure that you have your risks hedged. You know, you have to make sure you have enough money in your bank account. You have to make sure that in case it fails, you have something to go back to. So I made sure I had all those precautions before I decided to be a full-time writer. That said, listen, if all else fails, I have an MBA. You know, I can go out there to get a job. So I do think that all of that stuff does give you sort of mental and financial security. So you just have to take the plunge and swim. It's in the beginning, the darkness, but the light will come.
If you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to be a risk taker. You cannot be an entrepreneur if you don't have that little element of adventure and risk taking. Because also I think when you need to make these decisions, it's either one way or there is no way. Because the more you think about it, the more you look at lot more next. So I have done everything that I've done in my life from one second to another. No business plans, no nothing. Followed my guts, and yes, an element of risk. Okay, I've some successful restaurants, but I've also had many failed restaurants. But every failed restaurant has been in some way or the other an education. So if I had gone to Harvard Business School, what I would have paid in my fee, I think I spent in the losses I made with some of the risks. So some risk taking has to be there, and there is no right or wrong moment. You feel like you just got to go and dive in the deep sea, and you will learn how to swim sooner or later.
If you have an idea, so say you want to change the world, that's your big vision. Build the first step to that big vision, test it out, and you will know whether you want to take the next step or you want to take a step back and say that, hey, I don't want to change the world anymore, but I want to change something else. So build and test was a motto that we still follow to this day and really worked well for us.
Hi, I'm Gunjan from Digital Market Asia, and my question to the panel, and particularly to Sukhmani, how easy or tough has it been to attract talent for you, given that you yourself are so young? So how was your experience?
It was really hard. I think it was the hardest thing to attract talent, especially at the stage that we were at, because we can't pay anyone. And the talent that we wanted to attract was obviously valued at a much, much higher rate. There were very few people out there who were willing to take the risk with us. But somehow we said, we found people who actually were passionate about what we were building, irrespective of whether they were the ideal candidate or not, or whether they had the ideal skill set, or whether they came with a great background and could really, take this to the next level. What really worked for us, and the talent that we have right now, even though we're a small team, we're 7 members, small or big, is people who are equally passionate about building this. And at this stage, that has really been key. And every single person really wants to make this vision come alive. And when you find that one person, irrespective of their background, I mean, we have dropouts who are working for us. We have someone who didn't, who's moved to Delhi from Calcutta because he didn't clear. He still has arrears, in college, etc. But the passion is what kind of sealed the deal for us. But it's hard. It's quite hard.
Yeah, and adding to that, given that, they believed in you and your ideas, do you think you should reward them by, creating some wealth for them?
Oh, of course. I mean, of course, that's something that we want everyone in the business to have some ownership, and that ownership is what will drive results, which is what will drive growth eventually.
And this said, entrepreneurship can be very, very demanding and challenging unless you are totally, madly, and completely in love with challenges. Please don't get into it. So maybe the emotional aspect is not necessarily what you're working on, but you know that you're somebody that can tackle anything and you have that belief in yourself that lets you move forward. With that being said, I'd like you guys to give a really big hand to all of these panelists.